I want to tell you about Muhammad Ali. Most people, when they think about Ali, they think about the greatest of all time, the speed, the footwork, the confidence, float like a butterfly, sting like a bee. But there's another part of his story that doesn't get talked about enough. He kept fighting, long past when he should have stopped, long past when the people closest to him were telling him to walk away. And the medical community has been pretty clear. Those last few years in the ring, the extra fights, the unnecessary punishment, they likely contributed to the Parkinson's disease that defined the last decades of his life. Ali may have had more grit than almost anyone that had ever lived, and that grit, unchecked, cost him. There's a book called Quit by Annie Duke, and she opens with that exact story because she wants you to sit with something uncomfortable. What if quitting sooner would have been Ali's greatest win? That idea should make you uncomfortable, and it did for me. It's Michele McGowan from Podiatry Unfiltered, and today I'm going to talk about surgery and how I quit it. Hi everyone, Michele McGowan from Podiatry Unfiltered, and today I kind of want to talk about why I walked away from surgery after 20 years of being in private practice, and now for the last 4 years I haven't done surgery. I've spent 20 years where I started with my training, building a practice, trying to prove myself as a surgical podiatrist. I did that for 20 years. Then I just walked away from surgery. I walked away from surgery not because I couldn't do it and not because I wasn't trained to do it. I got pretty good background. But what I realized was it wasn't giving me what I really wanted. I think I was just doing what we were told to do, going through the motion. Half the reason I became a podiatrist was because I wanted to do the surgery piece. So if you're out there and you've watched any of my content and you know that I don't do surgery anymore, you might want to listen because sometime in your career, you might come to some of the same conclusions or you may not. I have friends who are very happy, maybe, doing all the surgery stuff. I did all the surgery for 20 years. So I kind of give a perspective of why I stopped. So today's episode might feel a little different because I'm just going to talk about something a lot of podiatrists think about, but we don't talk to each other about. Kind of what does it look like when we stop doing surgery and why I don't do surgery anymore. I'd like to give a little background on that. And the reason I thought about this idea for a podcast has a lot to do with a webinar that I was just a part of. And I was kind of introduced as the non-surgical podiatrist. And for some reason, when I think of non-surgical podiatrists, when I started, people who are non-surgical podiatrists were not board certified. No, they just cut toenails. And I don't know why. There was a little part of my ego got hit, but I'm like, wait, I've done that. But when they said it, it hit me a little bit. So I wanted to talk about it. So let me set the stage. I trained at West Penn Hospital in Pittsburgh. It was a very strong surgical program. The doctor I worked with lectured all over the country. A lot of the people that I trained with have gone on to be presidents of American College of Foot and Ankle Surgeons. A lot of the people I trained with went on to become big names in podiatry. I guess if that's a thing. But yeah, honestly, I used to go when I was a student, I'd see this guy's lecture and I'm like, that is where I'm doing I want to be just like those guys. So I did my residency at my dream residency in Pittsburgh. And I say this all the time. I came out of residency and I was like, I'm going to heal with steel. That was my whole identity. And that was my plan, which even became a little crazy because I knew I was going to open my own practice. So people were like, how is she even going to get board certified? But I did. I graduated from my residency program. I opened up my own shop, which a lot of you guys know, in Florida, and I became board certified in 5 years. Took the boards once, and it was a very exciting time for me. And it's a different beast to become board certified after 5 years when you're in private practice than when people are just handing you cases when you work for a group. I truly built that part of my career from the ground up. I'm very proud of that. Then there's the reality of private practice surgery. And I think people don't talk about this enough, but surgery, it's not just the procedure, it's the time. You got a 7:30 start, you might be there at 7. You may have one or multiple cases. No matter what, it's going to suck 3 to 4 hours out of your life, out of your day, if not more. And that's if you're lucky, if you don't get bumped or there's late start times, or in between cases, the turnover is forever. And I started to get really sick of that really fast because I value my time. All of the bullshit when it comes to surgery, getting bumped because of somebody else's case. And you just sit there and think, I just lost a half day, if not more. And over time, that time adds up. And this is what I dreamed of. I had block time at my local hospital within a year of being in private practice. I had a nice Thursday morning block time. It was awesome. So I thought, really. And then the reality kind of hit. I was not fulfilled by it. And I feel like that's strange because it is one of the main reasons I became a podiatrist. It's why I went to podiatry in the first place. I'm like, oh, I can do this schooling. I can do a 2 or 3 year surgical residency, be out on my own, and I'll be a surgeon. Did a ton of procedures in the first 20 years of my private practice. But I just kept thinking, this isn't it for me. And about 4 years ago, things started to shift for me. So I took call for 20 years. The diabetic foot infections, the fractures, going in on weekends when you have your kid's soccer game or you want to go to Disney. We live near Disney. And I just had enough of it. It wasn't fulfilling me. It wasn't filling my cup. And it had a lot to do. Like my decision 4 years ago to stop doing surgery had a lot to do with the end of my call. I was not enjoying surgery. After the first 10 years of private practice, I was just not enjoying it. And I stuck around for another 10 years. I kind of wish I didn't. I wish I would have had the guts to do something different sooner. I think my practice would look very different. I'm moving in a direction now that I absolutely love, and I like doing what I'm doing for my patients. But after I fulfilled my 20-year obligation to the hospital and being on call, I decided to do things differently. I remember thinking, my whole world just opened up. Because if you've ever taken call for 20 years, you don't realize how much of your life that owns until it's gone. And that actually gave me space to actually think. So I made the decision. Honestly, took me longer than it should have. I stopped doing surgery. Not gradually, not halfway. I just stopped. I remember calling my malpractice carrier saying, hey, what does it look like if I'm not doing surgery anymore? And the answer was, it looks like a lot less, which was a nice bonus. My malpractice insurance went down a lot. But more importantly, nothing bad happened. My practice didn't fall apart. My patients didn't disappear. If anything, everything got better. Now, I really want to be clear about something. I don't consider myself non-surgical. I'm surgically trained, and I did it for 20 years. I understand when somebody needs surgery. I just choose not to do it. And I think that's a distinction that matters. If somebody needs surgery, I can refer them out. My husband does surgery still. He enjoys it still. But I didn't stop helping patients. I shifted how I help patients. We do PRP, we do SoftWave, we have the class for laser, I do custom orthotics. I focus on the regenerative medicine and higher level conservative care. And I'll tell you, I enjoyed a whole lot more. I did talk to another podiatrist a couple Fridays ago, and she was delightful. And we were chitty-chatting, and she's been out like 5 years. And she kind of admitted, very similar, she enjoys all this regenerative stuff. She's surgically trained. She did fellowship. But she likes this life, and I'm a little jealous of her because she's only been out for 5 years and she's getting it. I'm just hoping if somebody else wants to listen to this and they say, wow, I want that. Maybe I don't have to do surgery. But here's the part that might surprise people. Walking away from surgery did not hurt my practice. It made it better. I have more control over my time. I'm not losing half days in the OR, and I'm doing higher level care. And honestly, I enjoy my days more. Once I stopped doing surgery, even my husband, Tim, who is in my practice, he does less surgery, but he does more minimally invasive MIS surgery and in the office. So me walking away from surgery altogether helped him define what's important to him. He does not want to spend a half a day in the hospital for 2 bunions. So he can do that in the office here. And that has changed our lives tremendously as well. So sometimes when you make one decision, it can roll into others, which y'all can be, sometimes that snowball that gets bigger is better. Now, in my situation, yeah, I'm lucky. I'm not stuck. Tim still does surgery. So if I see a patient, I say, this needs a bunion or this tendon needs to be repaired. I just put my, hey, you gotta see this guy. But even if I didn't have that, if I stop, I would just send it to another person in town. Because honestly, you don't have to be everything to everyone to be a good doctor. And this is really what I want this episode to be about. It's okay to change. It doesn't matter if you've been practicing 5 years, 10 years, 20, or 30 years. If something in your practice isn't serving you, you're allowed to stop doing it. For me, I stayed longer than I should have, not because I loved it, but because it was a part of my identity. And I think a lot of us do that. It's like, I kind of like it to that athlete who spends their whole life, middle school, high school, college, even a little bit beyond, and their whole identity is their sport. And then they don't have that anymore. I think a lot of us, probably a lot of us are old athletes too, but it's kind of ingrained in us that you don't quit, you don't give up on something, but sometimes it's okay to quit. So if you're listening to this and something feels off in your practice, pay attention to that. Because the hardest thing to admit isn't that something isn't working. It's that you're allowed to change it. And I'll tell you from experience, sometimes that thing you're holding on to the tightest is the exact thing you need to let go of. If this resonates with you, send me a message. Are you still doing surgery because you love it? Or are you doing it because you feel like you're supposed to? Yeah. It's just my thought for the morning. This is Michele McGowan, Podiatry Unfiltered.